Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledge it, knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
As my cousin once said, ladies and gentlemen, let the thunder roll. Good old Uncle Garth, Cousin Garth.
Cousin Garth.
Cousin Garth owes me a check or two.
He's also a serial killer.
Ooh. Wait,
you ever heard that theory that Garth Brooks is a serial killer?
What? Welcome to Topic Thunder, everybody. We do this every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. My name is Brooks. That's Ben. What?
Yes, there is a theory out there that Garth Brooks is a serial killer.
Okay, this is completely foreign to me.
Okay, well, you do your introductions. I'll look it up here.
Okay, well, all right. Off to a rousing start, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Gaines is the serial. There you go. Well, remember that guy? Where are the bodies, Garth? Oh, right. The Thunderdome is alive and well. And yes, that's what we call the world's most dangerous chat. So, folks, welcome into Topic Thunder. We're setting sail from the decks of the USS Rapapa, as you heard my friend Biz say up top, who's also in the Thunderdome right now. So, howdy to you all as well. The lifeblood of the show. Tom Segura started. Well, okay. All right. Gives me a little bit of hope in that fact that it's not true and that Cousin Garth still owes me checks and is not a serial killer.
So here you go. I found, and that is accurate. Yes. There you go. What started out as a throwaway joke from comedian Tom Segura has become a laughable notion for everyone but Garth Brooks. In his special Sledgehammer, Segura talks about his theory. Where are the bodies, G? If you've been to a Garth concert, chances are you've seen a sign or two like this and wondered what the hell. Apparently, Segura has found a curious connection between the country music legend's tour dates and people who have gone missing in those places. Understandably, Garth has refused to address it.
Like, what would you do?
No, I wouldn't address it either. I would not acknowledge that a comedian's joke has turned into something real.
That's insane. All right. Well, that's what we do here, folks. Ben and I fashion ourselves as infotainers and topic tenders.
Yes.
We've never really settled.
I promise not to throw up in the middle of this show.
No,
like I did
hold
last
on.
week.
Now you're giving away the radio secrets over there. Like, yes, that
fourth wall broken. Yeah.
Right. Last week's show was so smooth, even though Ben was so sick because we have mad radio skills. And what's a radio? They're asking right now.
I was telling someone the other day, I was like, yeah, I've been doing like podcasting for like a really long time, like so long that it wasn't even called podcasting when I started doing it. It was called internet radio. That's what it was referred to as. Like on what was the fucking oh man, what was the website that we used back in the day where we call in on our phones? It was crazy.
Oh, shit. I don't think I was
so
on
we're
that
talking
first.
About like
shit
now 20 years ago at this point. So yeah, been doing this fucking silliness with microphones for a while. So I know what to do. I know how to hit the cough button.
See that professionalism right there. That's what you can expect from here.
That's about the limit. That is the top of the professionalism that you will find on this show.
Are you trying to say it's going to go downhill from here?
After that, it is all downhill.
Uh-oh. Well, this isn't going to help because, to be honest with you, folks, it's one of those Costco wine nights. Something delicious yet off-label from a vineyard that might have some renown, but sold their extra stock to Costco at a real cheap price. Costco put it in a bottle, slapped on a fake name on it, and sold it to me for $8.99. So, cheers to you.
Well, here's the thing. I got from Toot and Totem, which is, by the way, my new favorite non-Buc-ee's gas station establishment.
Oh, we have a new gas station to add to the list.
Oh yeah, Toot and Totem. It's literally within walking distance of my house.
Toot and Totem.
Toot and Totem is the name of the gas station.
And Totem.
Yes, and they have
not
delicious.
Like Tutankhamun. the
No, toot
Egyptian
and
pharaoh.
totem.
Okay.
Oh,
See,
you got me
we,
because I
we
was
told you it went. I was gonna all downhill.
yeah. So, but cinnamon roll cappuccino.
Ooh.
It is delicious.
I'm usually just a black coffee guy, but every once in a while I'll branch out and be like, that looks good. Let's give that a shot. I
Yes,
would give that a shot.
they also have what they call a cafe mocha, which is half hot chocolate, half coffee.
That would work.
It's very good.
That would work.
Yes. So
Well,
that just sounds like diabetes. This is not something I could do every day. Certainly, it is very sweet. But tonight, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this, and I like it.
well, and okay, he's well caffeinated. I've got a nice glass of wine of unknown.
Yes, caffeinated. Just
Right.
caffeinated.
That's it. You're not taking any gummies this time, are you?
No, but they were right here. I was thinking about it.
Oh boy,
There's only two left in this one, so it really couldn't go that crazy. But I was thinking about just taking one to just kind of get myself in a happy mindset. But you know what? I don't need them today. I'm ready to go.
You're ready to go. Well, Ben, let's go. Hey, it's headlines. Nothing more creative. With that said, Ben and I share stories every once in a while, and Ben has an associate named Tipton Moscow, who we've mentioned on the show before. Also,
Very good
a very good friend, and like a sleuth investigative journalist. Will give us the skinny, like the months before, right? That kind of thing. Slipped us a story and told us to pay attention to something, and I got into it. Started looking around like, I want to be able to explain this from every possible. So I held off on it. Pre-show meeting, the scant 10 minutes that Ben and I spend together, and we're not talking about sports.
Right, when we're not talking about the Cubs or Blackhawks.
Right. He started asking me about it because I didn't include the link in the show, truth be told. And he was asking why. And I started providing some context and some background because I found it to be very interesting. And I wanted to make sure we were able to speak to all of it. But then we started talking and it was interesting to us. So we thought we'd share the rest of the conversation with you guys.
So yeah, let's get right into it then.
So let's get right into it. So here we go. Oh boy. All right. Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci. Do I have to introduce?
Well,
No?
at this point,
Okay,
you
good.
should not have to tell people who he is. Yeah.
His ex-boss, Dr. Francis Collins, here's the headline from Fox News. Fauci's ex-boss now says COVID-19 lab leak theory was credible, despite previous claims it was a distraction. This is from Dr. Francis Collins, whose testimony came days after Dr. Anthony Fauci was interviewed by the House Select Committee on Coronavirus Pandemic. We can't do the rest of the article because
You know what? We just need the headline anyway, because what we were going to discuss doesn't necessarily need the nuts and bolts of what the story is. I think we were going to look at this from kind of another angle. I think a little bit, which was first of all, that the fact that the headline itself says something there, but that beneath the headline, there is a little bit more context where this House Select Committee on a coronavirus pandemic, it is not the same as the thing that we just watched last week involving Hunter Biden, which is a much more public affair. This was not nearly as a public testimony as what we saw with Hunter Biden, correct?
So I don't want to leave out details, and the Fox News thinks neither one of us want to subscribe to it because, well, why would you subscribe?
Right, exactly.
Anyway, but the story from the National Review, which was the original link, the OG link that Tipton Moscow sent to us, kind of does have a little more to go on and read here.
Okay.
So I think we'll read from that.
Sounds good. I'll find that link too.
Yep. Dr. Francis Collins testified before the House about his role as a National Institute of Health director during the COVID pandemic, echoing Dr. Anthony Fauci's recent testimony on social distancing guidelines and gain of function research and the lab leak theory. So those are those are the three things that this House subcommittee was questioning him on. Let's repeat those things, right?
I got it up now, so we're good.
Yeah, cool. They were, and I lost my spot.
Social distancing guidelines.
Thank you. You found it.
Gain of function research.
And the lab leak theory. I was already scrolling right well past that. Collins agreed with Fauci that the 6-foot social distancing recommendation was likely not based on any scientific data, despite the policy being heavily promoted by federal health officials during the pandemic. The House GOP-led House Select Committee Coronavirus Subcommittee revealed on Saturday morning. The panel questioned Collins for 7 hours behind closed doors on Friday, following a similar transcribed interview with Fauci on Monday and Tuesday. The former NIH director who presided over Fauci led the federal agency's pandemic response before stepping down in December of 21. Fauci retired at the end of 22, ending his tenure as the director of the NIH's Allergy and Infectious Diseases and Chief Medical Advisor roles under not only the Trump and Biden administration, but this goes all the way back to Ronald Reagan.
Right.
When Fauci got this job, right? There were a couple other things in the interview. This is going back to Collins. Collins agreed with Fauci's admission that the lab leak hypothesis is not a conspiracy theory after all, despite trying to disprove it with the March 2020 proximal origin scientific paper. They do go into a little bit of that, but of course we're not going to. But Collins also acknowledged that Fauci invited him to attend a February 1 conference that promoted the writing of it. So it gets a little murky. And again, the House Select Committee, these things get weird, especially when they're behind closed doors. You don't have reporters, cameras, anything like that. Again, they're talking about then the suspicion that it was heightened that the fact that scientists in Wuhan are known to have been working on gain-of-function experiments to determine the molecular mechanisms associated with bat viruses adapting to human infection, and the outbreak originated in Wuhan. So let's, I guess, kind of put a cork in that right there, because there was a lot. It kind of came at you like buckshot.
Yeah. So I do want to go back to this part right here.
This is 7 hours of testimony.
The social distancing recommendation, likely not based on any scientific data. That is, I'm surprised this has not been harped on more by the anti-science crowd, because when you read this, it does seem to be like a smoking gun of sorts to their argument of, see, the social distancing, the mask thing, it was all bullshit. They were all lying to us. Right? I mean, doesn't that, am I wrong in reading it that way?
It could fuel a lot, right? It could fuel a lack of belief in the science. Well, and I'll be honest, a healthcare worker here, no surprise to anybody. I'm just as pissed about a lot of this stuff as anybody else is.
And I think that's important to point out to it. Yeah.
I can reuse a specialty mask that up until this moment, everybody and all of my training always told me, once you're done with that one patient in that one room, you ditch the mask. Or of course, we're talking about the N95s because they existed before the pandemic.
Right.
We just used them when somebody had suspected tuberculosis.
Right. It was, yeah, they were used it wasn't that they weren't effective. They were used for something else. Yes.
They're very effective at stopping airborne particles from being inhaled and breathed in. They're very, very effective. But
now,
you're
I'd
telling
like to
me,
play go ahead.
No, I'm just saying the same group told us that we could reuse them. Like day after day after day after day. So that's just one of my gripes. Don't get me started.
Right. But at the same time,
it was a cool shirt. I'm actually doubling down on the SCU, the Statkus Cinema Universe.
Yes, I love that. Yes.
Thanks to Gigi for that one.
Yes, but it does. I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate here and saying, okay, while it may not have been based on any scientific data, that there wasn't a whole lot of data about a novel virus. So there were a lot of theories and there were a lot of things. Like, it certainly didn't hurt to social distance, right? It wasn't
a bad idea.
Correct. It just wasn't based on any scientific data, but that's misleading in that we're talking about a novel virus. There was no data. So they were going based off of other similar types of viruses. And surely, if when you talk about viruses, a lot of them being airborne, social distancing is a way to limit those things. So it was a suggestion that was made based on previous scientific evidence and data regarding similar viruses, but of course could not be 100% sure that it was going to work for this new novel thing. That's why it's called a novel virus, because it's new, it's novel. There's nothing like it before. So the science on that is going to always be changing. It should always be changing, right? We should be able to look back at it and say it wasn't based on any scientific data, but also that it wasn't a bad idea. Like you said, just because it wasn't based on data doesn't mean it was a bad idea. And I think that's where it's going to get lost and twisted a little bit.
I just think that them bringing in these now retired professionals and heads of their departments and subject matter experts for sure to talk about social distancing, gain of function research. Okay, we can have that talk. And the lab leak theory, I don't think there's anybody that can reasonably state that they can rule that out 100%. Because until you tell me how COVID got here, 100%.
Until we know for sure, right? Yeah, it's like telling me, God, it's like you got to be agnostic about it.
It's a theory, and it's not a conspiracy theory. It's just like it's on the table until they rule out everything.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be considered, right? And all the we've talked about the permutations of the lab leak thing, from somebody just being lazy to somebody being malicious, and kind of all the shades of gray in between. But the social distancing guidelines, when there was little admission that it was an airborne virus, even though we knew it was an airborne virus coming from China, and we had all of that data. It was the social distancing. It was the cheap way to go about, and I'll argue this. It was a cheap way of going about trying to keep a general populace safe enough to not absolutely crush the healthcare system. And I mean total and utter collapse. And folks, when I tell you the healthcare industry, your hospital, whatever its name is, has still not recovered from that, that was a necessary thing. However, that was cover for, oh shit, we need better ventilation in every single public and private space everywhere. And that's way too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the honest to God truth. You want to keep people safe, we need to go back and look at that specific type of infrastructure, from old decrepit schools to new hospitals that didn't account for a pandemic. Because folks, I'll tell you, they were caught with their pants down a little bit with this one.
Oh yes.
Right? So instead of reinvesting in these types of filtration systems and ventilation systems that can exchange the air in a room of 30 people a certain amount of times, at least 3 times an hour, they're 6 feet apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just makes sense. And when you break it down like that, it makes logical sense in a scientific sense when you're, again, dealing with a novel virus where you literally don't know anything for sure about this thing as it's happening and in real time. And you have to protect an entire populace of people, an entire, I mean, we're literally every human being on planet Earth was potentially affected by this if it wasn't gotten under some sort of control.
So that's the difference between like an epidemic and a pandemic, right? An epidemic is a more localized outbreak of said disease. Pan means everywhere, everything. So it's everywhere. It's not just something that was localized. No, it went everywhere, from New Guinea to Russia to Europe to obviously China, South America, everywhere. That's how quickly it spread. That's how dangerous it was, and that it could crush healthcare systems. You don't understand what that means if you're not thinking about, I don't know, perhaps recent participants and certain fans of the show who have had medical episodes lately. that like would not have had that level of care available if it got crushed and everything was done as far as what we think of healthcare.
Yeah.
The
So
system,
to put a
please.
bow on this, so that because I don't want to get too out in
I'm
the
fired
weeds
up.
on this,
I'm
but
fired
yeah,
up, man. Let's
I
talk.
love it. But what I want to talk about this is from a different angle is this: if indeed this started from a lab leak,
Mhm.
does it change your? And I open this up to the Thunderdome as well. Does it change your thought about anything about the pandemic, the handling of it? Does it make you question any of the narratives that you were told? Does it give you pause if you were like me and pushing hard for vaccinations and really trying to get people to take this thing seriously? Does it change your thought process on this at all? Should it? Um, I open that up to you, and that's where we got. I asked you this question off the air, and that's what led us to bringing this on the air. So I'm been eagerly anticipating your answer to this, and I'm curious what your how when you process this, what does it do? Does it change anything for you?
I never bought the idea that governments aren't experimenting with these things. In this testimony, there are some accusations that at one point Fauci and this other doctor this Dr. Collins denied the National Institute of Health was funding some of this research. Um, I could be pragmatic about this too, because I could see a situation where, well, first of all, let's just point out that at the time, let's just remember who was in charge of the country, and let's just describe it as somebody who uh, didn't grow up thinking of having a STEM career, right?
Right.
So, as far as a national response, let's be frank, we kind of tripped over our own dick about
Mm-hmm.
it, right? We
Sure.
couldn't get out of our own way. So it was bungled from the start. So that just meant the response was going to be disjointed and bungled too, and which it certainly was, right? Um, I think it doesn't necessarily change the idea, like, oh, now I know where it came from, or like those lying sons of bitches. I'm at the point now where like we should just know what happened. I'm
Mm-hmm.
full disclosure. Look, if it was somebody just being careless and like, whoops, didn't do the decontamination process
Mm-hmm.
correctly, and the next place they went to was the market. They're in the live animal market in Wuhan just to do what they normally do on a Tuesday and get a
Right.
duck to bring home for dinner or whatever, right?
Right.
Uh, uh, and there you go. Uh, okay, I get it. I
Mm-hmm.
understand, like that. Truly, accidents like that probably happen. Lazy, shame on you. You killed a billion people or whatever it was, but bound to happen when you're kind of playing like that, right? And we
Right.
do that with science everywhere, right? Oppenheimer, right? We just have that movie on the headlines everywhere. We were playing with the atom, and look what we've done. All the great things we've done with that power, right?
Right.
Right. And here we are messing with germs and bacteria and now like DNA and mRNA, which again I have no problem with mRNA vaccines. It hasn't changed my like idea of the vaccine. I've read enough about both types of vaccines, whether they're the dead or weakened virus that they inject into you and let
Mm-hmm.
your or you
The more
give
synthetic, right? It's like
the
it's like
mRNA is not
Mhm.
it's not necessarily synthetic, it's engineered, and I know that's
There you
weird,
go. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But what that is, it's a piece of RNA, ribonucleic acid, which helps build DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. It's blueprints for your immune system to build a response to, right? In layman's terms, it's really what it is. It's
Right.
just a script for your immune system to go, oh, thanks for the upload. Now I can go get that fucker,
Right.
right?
Right. Gotcha.
So I don't want to say I trust that, but I know good people in science were working hard to develop those things. You don't hear about it. You just hear about Pfizer and their profits, but you don't see the people or hear about the people behind the scenes of that.
The actual scientists. Yeah.
We're legitimately working around the clock globally to try to working as one. Well, why haven't we figured out cancer? Because we're all trying to do different shit.
Right. It
Right?
just again goes back to if we all pool our powers, so to speak, what we're capable of as a human race. That's really what it is.
And everybody was sharing data freely to like in a race to get this. Did Pfizer and Merck and all the other companies get involved? Yes. There's a doctor in Houston, immunologist named Dr. Peter Hotez, who has offered for free his COVID vaccine for $3. That's it, $3. Like he's sent that globally.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was actually his formula and his gift to the world has actually helped to immunize most of Africa, and
that's awesome.
It actually is, and he's become a crusader in the world of like anti-vax people, like and the anti-science people, and just by saying like again your 42-minute dive into a YouTube channel, oh sorry, doesn't grant you the permission to refute decades and decades of like science, of proven peer-reviewed argued science, whatever argument you think you've had in your not uneducated, I don't want to say it like that, right? But at that level of science, the things that you know,
ignorant in the dictionary actual definition of it, not in the insulting way of saying it. You can be
right.
You're ignorant to the scientific information.
It doesn't, your 20 minutes on YouTube doesn't equal 40 years of reading every book, every paper, and under a microscope, like all of that, right? It just doesn't, right? The death of expertise is a sad thing in this country, to be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
Suddenly everybody's out there to make a buck. But when you look at people like Dr. Peter Hotez, here he is giving his thing away. So I don't like the establishment for sure, because I
get that, right? And the pharmaceutical industry is awful. I agree, and we will say that. We'll say that for as long as we do this show, we will be talking about the fact that big pharma takes advantage of us because they're allowed to. But that doesn't mean that the scientists were wrong in the educated guesses, just because now in looking back, it may not have been as effective or may not have been based on it. What sucks about stories like this and coming out is that you want the people that the conspiracy people, the people that you're trying to just get them to understand that science, you can't not trust science. You can't do that. We can't be a society if there's a large percentage of people that outright don't trust science.
And yet use science every day.
All the time. It's one thing to not trust the government. It is another thing to not trust science. And it is when stories like this come out, it emboldens them because it gives them these fragments that they can cling to where they say, oh, see, social distancing was bullshit because it wasn't based on science. But as we just explained, it may not have been based on scientific data, but it doesn't mean it wasn't based on scientific information. What about essential oils?
Sir Aaron.
So I don't want to, it's time. I want to move on because there's a lot of other stories we need to talk about, but it's disappointing because I just wish that there was something. I wish it was a different kind of news that came out that would allow them to kind of like wake up from their slumber, because they're so far down the rabbit hole on this anti-science thing that they cannot see the big picture at this point.
I think it's actually worse than that. I think that because of that and because of the nonstop barrage of the anti-science movement and all of that fun stuff, I think the public's trust has been shaken.
Yes,
just again by the sheer amount and the loudness, the volume that these stories sometimes get blasted out, and you don't follow up, you don't read up on, you don't go, well, where's the sub context here? There's the context. Oh, because the headline's like he makes you think he's testifying in front of the whole goddamn House of Representatives, where it's literally just a subcommittee of like 11 mostly Republican people
looking for gotcha question, asking a bunch of
Quite
gotcha
possible.
questions.
I also started looking at, and I forget his name right now, I apologize, who led the committee. So I just started looking at his Twitter, and like I told you, I started getting into it. Like when Tipton sends a story, like there's a lot to it, right? It's meaty.
Yep.
So I was looking into like, okay, where is this guy stand? It's not like I don't know that he's officially MAGA. I haven't found him like waving those things. There are some things that I don't agree with that he believes in, and there are some things that we agree on, to be honest with you. So, I think this story isn't fully formed, but I understand like it is a great conversation piece and something to kind of bring us back to, I guess, a couple of years back. But that's important stuff.
It's been a while since we talked about COVID. It really has, because it's kind of weirdly, and having, as someone who got it again, the fatigue of it, we forget about it very easily. So what we aren't going to forget about is that fucking video of those Ecuadorian cartel people taking over the TV studio. There's an update on that, huh?
Well, apparently they're not done, because there's an Ecuadorian prosecutor that was probing that attack who has now been killed.
I'm sure he stabbed himself before he jumped out of a window or something, right?
Oh no! They don't even play games like that in Ecuador.
They don't play the Putin games there. They
But we're
go
gonna get to that in a little bit too. Don't forget, I got an update on that guy too. This is from the Associated Press. The Ecuadorian prosecutor who was investigating an attack at the television station in Guayaquil, the country's largest and one of its most dangerous cities, was shot to death on Wednesday. Prosecutor Cesar Suarez, who had carried out other high-profile investigations in the past, was shot while driving a vehicle in the city, the Attorney General Diana Salazar said. Quote, I will say this emphatically. Organized crime groups, criminals, terrorists will not stop our commitment to the Ecuadorian society. She broadcast that thing on X, formerly Twitter. The Attorney General's office did not immediately return a request for comment from Topic Thunder, too, as well as the AP, apparently. 13 alleged perpetrators had been arrested in the assault at the TC television, which was broadcast live and led President Daniel Noboa to declare that Ecuador is in a, quote, internal armed conflict, and, quote, amid a surge of killings and other crimes tied to drug trafficking. Again, I think it was last episode or the episode before, we described how Ecuador has a port that has less than stellar security about it.
We'll have to look the other way, guys, there.
And also happens to be the only country that's wedged between Peru and Colombia, which are the two top exporters of cocaine in the world. Yeah. So I guess the word got out that Ecuador is a little lax on their security in this one port. Right. And again, to recap the story from last week, it has invited not just like local cartels, it's invited global criminal organizations to basically set up shop and a waypoint and an HQ in this port.
Oh, what a nightmare.
So they're not afraid to just go out and just kill the prosecutor.
They're in broad daylight, surely, right? They're not scared. And they're not trying to hide it by poisoning him or blowing up his plane. No, they're just going to shoot you right in the street.
There's no wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Cute
no, there's no not trying to hide it, cover it with something. I'm
celebrating the SCU, the Statkus Cinema Universe here fully. Look that up. I don't know. Another follow-up. This is a week of follow-up stories. Ben, remember that story last week when we covered a prison that had been accused of not one but two of their recently deceased prisoners found without organs, including their brains?
Yes.
200, and this is from our friends at NPR, 215 people have been buried behind a Mississippi jail since 2016.
Wait. The same jail?
I don't think it's the same jail.
Okay.
Families of people who were buried in a pauper's field next to Hines County Penal Farm in Jackson, Mississippi, are calling for federal investigation into the burials, which took place without families being notified.
Oh, that's good.
With their attorney now saying the field holds hundreds more graves. The families want a full accounting of the bodies buried there. The issue became national news last fall when several families said they had waited months to hear about a missing loved one, only to learn that their relative had died months earlier and were buried in a grassy field, their graves marked by only a metal tag bearing a number.
What?
Their attorney, civil rights lawyer Ben Crump, says, that's a great name, says he believes many more people were buried under similar circumstances. Here's a quote
Oh
from
my God.
Crump. We know, based on records from the coroner's office, that since 2016, in the last 8 years, we could identify 215 individuals that were buried behind the jail, and their families have not been notified.
No way. No way. Like, this is America? No, it can't be.
Something is awful and rotting in our prison system.
Oh God, yes. This is just more further proof of that. This is gross.
I don't think have I talked about what's going on Rikers Island?
No.
Next week on Topic Thunder, every Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, you're going to find out about the horrors going on Rikers Island, one of the most famous prisons in New York State, and how we really need to ask ourselves as Americans and as people who consider ourselves part of a civilized society, we need to ask ourselves, is this what we are? Because we're allowing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say what you want about the people in prison. I'm sorry, but like they're still human beings and at least need to be buried properly and their loved ones notified of it.
At the very least, how do you not notify family members? That's just egregious and heartless to a scale that is hard to even believe. And talking about the broader thing of the prisons, I saw a clip of a California warden, I think it was, talking shit about how Gavin Newsom was releasing people from prison, out of prison during COVID. And his argument was they're letting the good ones out that behave themselves, that we give jobs to, so we don't have people to do those jobs.
So they can save their budget. Pay out
They out in the open, basically talking about, this was free, cheap labor.
Free labor.
And you're just letting our free labor go.
Slave labor.
It's happening over and over. These stories are coming out all the time about the way that the prison system in this country is run, and the privatization of the prisons makes it even worse. I mean, the whole thing is beyond rotten. Like, what? I don't know what is beyond rotten. I don't know. Decomposed,
spoiled.
I mean, the whole thing is just needs to be completely revamped, and this is just another instance to prove that. Sad.
Well, let's stop there, ladies and gentlemen. Also sent in by our good friend and friend of the show, Tipped in Moscow.
Yes, this just happened today.
We haven't touched on the Israeli-Hamas Palestinian crisis. Should I just dive right into this? The Senate overwhelmingly rejected an effort from Senator Bernie Sanders on Tuesday to force a probe into whether Israel has violated human rights in a brutal war in the Gaza Strip. The resolution would have halted U.S. security aid to Israel unless the State Department submits a report within 30 days on whether Israel had committed human rights violations in an effort to destroy Hamas. In the first real attempt in the chamber to hold Israel to some sort of accountability for its ruthless military campaign in Gaza, it has killed at least 24,000 people over 3 months. That's according to the Gaza Ministry of Health. Who
take that for what it's worth. Right?
Again, the article does not state that Hamas runs the Gaza Ministry of Health. So If you're not going to trust the official Israeli account of things, nor should you trust the Gaza Ministry of Health.
Correct. Not
account of
blindly,
things.
at least, certainly.
Right.
Yeah.
Put the numbers together, figure out some sort of middle, and that's probably where the truth lies,
Correct.
as usual, right? Only 10 senators, Ben, 9 Democrats and 1 Republican, joining Sanders in voting against tabling the measure. Ahead of the vote, Sanders, whose position on the war baffled some of his progressive supporters, told the Associated Press that Israel has the absolute right to defend itself from Hamas and the brutal attack on October 7th. But what Israel does not have the right to do is using military assistance from the United States, and does not have the right to go to war against the entire Palestinian people. And in my view, that is what has been happening.
So I would encourage anyone to argue against Bernie Sanders in this instance. Like, I don't understand, and this is extremely disappointing of the Democrat majority in the Senate, that again is seemingly willfully and purposefully ignoring the horrible things that are happening to one side, and blindly and like fingers in their ears, la 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 la, acting like Israel is not. What could it have hurt for this probe, for this this is not unreasonable what Bernie Sanders seems to be asking for. Am I missing something here?
The halting of support and security aid, it becomes like kind of
Okay,
like a razor's edge. There are
but it's
people that,
only unless the State Department submits a report. So just submit the fucking report.
so what this actually is condemning the State Department, thinking that they'll never get it done. So we're not going to vote on something with this like trigger to it.
Great
to go,
point.
Like, oh shit, because who knows who can engineer? Like, you give me 30 days to like, wait, what? Like withhold like 5.8 or how many billions of dollars we give aid to a year or whatever it is at this critical juncture, right? It's just as a sensitive moment with Ukraine, right? How House Republicans won't like it's a yes or no thing. Like, you either believe in supporting the cause or you don't. But this is a ticking time bomb. And I could see people going, well, I don't believe in ticking time bombs. And I can also see people going like, well, I'm not putting my ass on the line for some unknown variable that could be easily sabotaged God knows how many different ways.
Let me bring up another point off of this, another branch off of this that I found interesting. I recently heard a story. I think it was on CBS News. I watched CBS News in the morning when I'm getting ready for work, and they had an interview. This was a few weeks ago with a Muslim community leader, and he was talking about how he was a big proponent. He was out there in the streets rallying for Joe Biden during the last election, right? And got a large number of Muslims to vote for Joe Biden because it was against Trump. And he was talking about, because of the hard stance of supporting Israel so staunchly and blindly and stuff, that his community, he's telling his community, and his community will not be voting for Biden in this next election. And if you don't have that group of people, it was pretty close last time the election was. I see if this could be a major reason why we have Trump as president again in 2025.
So this is what I would advise a presidential candidate if I was a political advisor. Which, by the record,
We're not.
I'm absolutely for hire.
Sure. Yeah.
Sounds
like a fun job.
I would campaign against the future Trump administration by bringing up one thing. Do y'all remember that Muslim ban that President Trump put into place? Everybody remember that? No? Have we forgotten about that too?
Right.
Because it was such a blitzkrieg of of nincompooperi, and
It is. It got buried. It did. There was so many things that he fucked up. I'll be honest with you. I forgot about it until you just mentioned it again. Yes.
I get being upset with the president because, again,
Sure.
much like many situations, but almost unique to this situation because of all the complexities, political, geopolitical, religious complexities to this particular situation. There is no easy answer, and there is no right or wrong and black or white here, right? And I get the idea of genocide, and I can appreciate that argument. And I look, I read a story earlier today that compared what's happening to the people of Gaza, the Palestinians in Gaza. They're comparing it to the Trail of Tears, to when hundreds and maybe millions of Native Americans were force marched out of their ancestral territories by the white man. So there is some empathy and understanding and context to that. We understand that here, right? I hope we do, right? That's one of the most unique and complex situations of this situation, is just that.
Yeah.
Like, who's innocent in this situation, and how can we best protect them? And if that's not your goal, and you're just like indiscriminately like murdering, raping women and children,
Yeah.
you're the bad guy. But if both sides are doing that,
you can't pick sides. Then
pick sides. It's there are no good guys in this. Now we have to really take a look at this under a multifocal lens, if that makes any sense, right?
Yes.
Because you have to have that context behind everything.
You have to. Our leaders in this country really need to take a step back in this blind support of Israel, and say, hold on, while we do support, and even Bernie Sanders says it, we support their want to defend themselves from this attack and make sure that Hamas isn't able to perpetrate another attack like that. But how far are they going to do that? And their plan doesn't seem to have anything in it to protect civilians that aren't Hamas. And there doesn't seem to be any plan to what to do with those people if you're going to displace them.
No, and there totally was a don't give a fuck attitude, right?
Correct.
Of course, I mean, they
were blaming those people ultimately. You allowed Hamas to come to power, so this is your fault. That's what they were telling them at the beginning.
They did allow, begrudgingly, humanitarian corridors for people to evacuate, but again, no other country, no other bordering country wanted to take these refugees. There was nowhere else to kind of send these people within the confines of Gaza and even like the West Bank. They don't necessarily connect, so Israel wasn't going to let them outside of what was like gated, basically, state within a state. It's horrible all the way around. Both, like, for every Hamas, we're going to kill all the Jews video, and you can show me, I can also show you Israeli Senate members calling for the end and extinction of the Palestinian people, right? And I have no...
And what's a bigger threat and a more realistic threat?
Well, the ones with nuclear weapons.
Right.
Well, if you want to be...
The ones with actual political power.
That, right? But so again, pull a multifocal lens, pull back another level, right? We know that Iran is funding, training, and funneling all types of resources towards Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, right? That's
right.
I in the private chat with the Lockport Joe, you and I, like, hey guys, we're bombing Yemen again.
Yep.
But we have to take into account of those state actors then too, which in a political response you have to consider then, right? Because if you lean too hard one way, somebody might be like, you fell into my trap. Excellent. Use this type of weapon, this type of force, or did this or did that, or didn't do this or didn't do that. And now's my time to strike. So I think like all of those things have to be and are clearly being held in high level conversations.
Mm-hmm.
But let's also be honest. Those conversations can be very paralyzing sometimes because people are afraid to make a decision.
Sure.
People are afraid to choose a side and go, you know what, this is what we're going to do. Because it's hard to say if you make one decision that you're not saying fuck you to the other side, right? And then that becomes a flag moment and a motivational moment for a particular whatever.
It's a very no-win situation to try to justify, to pick a side and then justify why you picked that side is extremely difficult and is full of potholes and landmines, figuratively, to trip you up and have it blow up in your face. Either side. And so this is just another one where it's like, leave it to Bernie Sanders to be the guy, the voice in the room that's going, hey, let's take a step back and make sure that Israel is not violating human rights in a fit of revenge and vengeance.
And if they are, they hold them to account.
Right. Let's just hold them to account. Let's bring it up to them. Like, hey, we did an analysis and let's pull it back a little. Let's maybe pull it back a smidge, eh?
It's an interesting conversation to have and a segue to make as we check in with
the man who's benefiting most from all of this.
Well, and finally,
leave it to him when there's chaos everywhere to like drop a nugget like this, right? Like this is Putin 101.
This is the last episode of Topic Thunder because we finally got the guy to say it. This is it. This has been the lifelong investigation of this show.
Yeah.
This is not the last show. Just
no
hyperbole. Reuters headline. Putin says past U.S. elections were rigged. Finally.
No shit.
Finally. Russian President Vladimir Putin running for a new 6-year term in an election that his opponents say is a parody of democracy.
Yes.
But on Tuesday, the past U.S. elections have been rigged by postal voting.
That's actually Vladimir Putin's heavy metal band parody of democracy.
Democracy? Could you imagine? All right. Okay, let's ask. Is he the wig wearing type?
No, he is very Rob Halford.
Okay, so I was about to ask because that was the vision of mine. I was about to ask.
That was what immediately came to my mind as well, was Rob Halford.
So we can all agree that Vladimir Putin is the studded leather, assless chaps kind of fella.
100%, yes.
Come and get me, Vlad. I live on the 9th floor, but I have no suicidal thoughts. Quote, in the United States, previous elections were falsified through postal voting. They bought ballots for $10, filled them out, and threw them into mailboxes without any supervision from observers, and that's it, Putin said without providing evidence. Putin's opponents say the March election in Russia is no real contest as the president wields unchallenged power, and his main rival, Alexei Navalny, is serving more than 30 years in jail on charges convenient. That Navalny says were trumped up.
Pun
intended. Like, right? Thanks, Yahoo News. Somebody's a good writer over there. They say that the use of electronic voting creates a scope for authorities to manipulate votes in Putin's favor without detection. That's a great little tidbit to throw down at the end of a story, especially for Reuters, which has close ties to a Russian news organization called TASS, TASS.
I didn't know that.
Interesting, right?
Indeed.
Folks, the good people in the web department, we still call it the web department over here.
Mm-hmm. Old school like that.
They teased on the cicada apocalypse story.
Cicadas are gross and they're annoying.
Get ready for a whole bunch more because the cicada apocalypse returns to the U.S. with the first double brood emergence.
Which is by the way, which is the title of Putin's metal band's second album. Double Brood Emergence.
That sounds like a tantric sex, like steel drum, like
it was an experimental phase that they went
flute album.
Yes, it was an experimental phase, double brood emergence.
It was. We're going to experience the first double brood emergence, which is called a DBE, in 221 years. Brooks, Ben, what does that mean?
These gross fucking bugs are going to be everywhere.
2024's apocalypse bingo card can be put to a big fat cross through insect invasion, as two mega broods of cicadas are about to synchronize their uprising in America for the first time in 221 years. How can we know that? Because these particular insects have a passion for prime numbers.
What?
Periodical cicadas. Also, the title of my memoir.
Yeah.
Periodical cicadas don't emerge often. Every 13 or 17 years, to be precise. And when they do arrive in their millions and even billions, this year, fate has aligned so that two broods will emerge from the ground, marking the first time this has happened in over 2 centuries. Brood 13 makes an appearance every 17 years, while Brood 19 pops up every 13 years. This year, they're going to have to learn to share, as they'll be wriggling topside together.
Wriggling topside, by the way, also one of the songs.
It's also
From that
at my trip to the Badlands, an adult bookstore I stopped in
Wriggling
South
topside.
Dakota. Yes.
Yes.
South Dakota is cool, but weird. 13 and 17 years are special because they're both prime numbers, which means it's really hard for a predator to have a cycle that syncs up with them, explained mathematician Professor Hannah Fry in a
Dude,
TikTok
nature is
video.
fucking crazy.
Also, they almost never synchronize with each other. 13 and 17 kind of miss each other apart from every 221 years. Brood 13 and 17, it looks like 19 though. Because isn't X 10 and then an I before X means 9? So I don't know. I take umbrance with Professor Hannah Fry and her TikTok video. Look at her. She's so bug.
Ugh, gross.
Get ready for the cicada apocalypse, folks. I don't think they have an exact area of coverage for these bad boys, but get ready because that humming outside your window.
Oh, they're so great. If you haven't
Billions
experienced,
and
I remember.
billions.
Yeah, this was. I mean, I remember when I was a kid. The cicadas there was a big thing of they're so annoying. They're so loud. Gross.
You know what that noise is? You know what that sound is, Ben?
No, but you're gonna probably tell me something gross or something.
Nope. It's just cicadas throwing out the sign and signal that they want to fuck.
Perfect.
That's all that noise is they're saying,
great.
hey,
It's time to fuck.
I've been sleeping for 13 years for this one moment, and I have one chance to reproduce it because I'm going to die. Jesus. That's what that noise is. Cicada mania. Run away. And eat crops. Oh, hey. Thank you, Joe.
They're destructive too.
That's the plague, right? That's why we should be worried about 2024. All things are lining up for the apocalypse, cicada apocalypse, and cicada mania. Just random story that I saw, and I was like, yeah. This is from Gizmodo. If you've been seeing it and thinking it, you're not imagining it. Google search results are getting worse, study finds. Does that register with anyone?
Could that be a problem?
For the past few years, a growing number of users, analysts, and experts raised alarms about a truth that feels obvious to a lot of people who surf around the web. The quality of Google results is in serious decline. Google disagrees.
Oh, what a surprise.
When you ask the company, the search giant's PR teams promise its flagship product is best in class. In fact, we're told Google search is better than ever. Strange, then, that yet another study confirmed that what feels obvious to so many denizens of the internet. When it comes to the product search, at the very least, it seems Google's losing the war to junk sites that sneak around to get their low quality content up at the top of the page. And that's according to a study from a team of researchers at Leipzig University and Bauhaus University, Weimar, the Center of Scalable Data Analytics and Artificial Intelligence. That's in Germany, by the way. That's why it's this big, long name. That was first reported by 404, or the German thing, 404 Media. Easy for me to say. It all comes down to something called affiliate marketing. Even if you don't know the term, you've seen its effects. One path to monetization for a lot of websites is product reviews and roundups. These articles include special links to buy products from retailers like Amazon, Best Buy, and Walmart. If you buy something after clicking one of those affiliate links, the website that referred you gets a commission. So there's the gimmick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's about these clicks, right? It's always about the clicks.
Mm-hmm.
Just about every journalistic outfit does this, Gizmodo included. And major publishers tend to have strict policies that firewall reviews and editorial decisions from these business concerns. But a lot less scrupulous sites are trying to game the system for a quick profit and don't care that they're filling the web with junk. Google used to be the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, now I would put something in, just researching the show today. I get 3 links, and then I get like products that are somewhat adjacent to those things, but not completely related. So, are we officially going to try to move to like Firefox? Is anybody using Firefox?
DuckDuckGo? Are we moving to DuckDuckGo?
Should we be choosing a different web browser? Because I'm game, and I'm game for having a public discussion about it. To be honest,
hey, listen, it seemed inevitable that Google was eventually going to get to the point where it got too big, right? And they're monetizing everything. Search engine optimization. As someone who works in internet sales, Google for decades now has been monetizing and doing basically pay for play for as long as they've had a foothold on the search engine game. They have used that monopolization to get businesses to pay to appear at the top of their searches. It's been kind of an open secret, really. There's not even a secret. They've been very open about it. Search engine optimization is about finding what makes Google's algorithm recognize your web page. And they're always constantly changing what makes the algorithm find your page, right? And it has to do with, again, are you clicking on Amazon links through and Walmart links and things of that nature? That's what matters to the searches. It's not the relevance. It's not what it originally was intended to be, which was like an encyclopedia of the world, right? It's no longer that. You can't totally trust Google searches to provide you the most accurate information based on fact-checked information 100% of the time. You can pay to kind of get around that idea and appear above the more factual, data-based, encyclopedia-esque information that is out there.
It's kind of like what drop shipping is, and this is kind of what that is. So it's like you're advertising something on Amazon, but you're marking it up as if you're giving somebody a great deal on something, and they're paying that markup. You're buying the product from Amazon at 40% less, and be like, ha ha, he. And some of that is being allowed, and like Gigi was saying, sponsor, absolutely, like saying links are sponsored now. So and they're showing up again as the 3rd or 4th, 5th or 6th link when you try to do a search. So
yeah, the sponsored content is always first, and that is 100% paid for. And they say it's based on search engine optimization, but you have to The big boys spend so much money on search engine optimization that that's why it's so hard to advertise a product or start a small business where you're selling a product and not do business with Google and Amazon. It's nearly impossible
Yeah, at their terms.
yeah, and you have again, yeah, exactly. At that, you don't get to have any negotiating power with those two entities when you're trying to sell a product.
Well, Ben, we were talking about folks that don't believe in science. All right, have some science.
Okay.
Hey, remember when we used to just blow buildings up in what we would call controlled explosions, but there'd
Yep.
be all kind of dust and particulate and who knows
Sure.
what breathing out asbestos.
Right. Lots of
Yeah.
like Vegas casinos and the Silverdome and all kinds of stadiums and shit. Yeah.
Leave it to engineers to figure out a different way to do the same thing. So yeah, there's no sound in the video, but what they're describing is this new method to take down these buildings, like literally level by level. That was not an animation. They go in to kind of clear out all the glass, all the kind of consumable stuff, get to the meat, the structure of the environment, and slice by slice take out the foundation and structural supports, and the building
Interesting.
it's level by level by level by level by level.
Huh.
Don't believe in science? Okay.
And that what's even crazier, I think, is that it starts from the bottom and then it lowers down. You would think they would start at the top and just take off layers, but they're doing it in kind of an opposite fashion than you would expect. You would think the whole building would just collapse on top of itself if you were just going to start taking out layers at the bottom.
It's gonna come back in the loop. And this is how you know that the people who designed this and executed this believe in what they're doing and it's working, is that while this building is coming down level by level, there are people just hanging out down there, just walking
look at that.
around.
Yeah, right here. Yeah.
Like we believe in it. Like what could it,
Yeah.
we got this.
This
guys.
isn't going to fall on top of us.
That is a belief in your
Science.
Yes. More science, you say?
Okay.
So agriculture,
Mhm.
kind of important. Instead of, I don't know, blasting our food supply with dangerous chemicals that are either on the food that we eat or seep into the ground and into our water supply, why don't we try, I don't know, lasers?
Wait, what?
Here is a weed whacking laser, like big mamma jamma,
Right.
that is
What?
using AI to pick out weeds and zaps them.
What? That's incredible.
Look
That's
at that
really
thing.
impressive.
Look at that thing go. Don't believe in science?
And it's
How's
leaving
that?
the right. It's identifying the difference between a weed and the plant that is meant to be there.
That's all AI. One of the components and one of the great things of AI is you can teach it. This is what this looks like. That's what this looks like.
Wow.
And I can feed you millions of examples of what this looks like and millions of examples of what that looks like. I just need you to go and zap that thing.
Wow. That's an amazing leap in technology. Like if I was in agriculture and farming, like this technology is game changing.
As opposed to spraying all kinds of weird Nazi chemicals.
Yeah, can we stop spraying our shit with chemicals to kill weeds now? Like,
Can we invest in that thing?
shouldn't this be federally mandated? Like, you go to this technology now. Like everyone, all farmers, you're no longer allowed to use pesticides and weed killers. You have to use this technology moving forward.
We're gonna help you. We're gonna
And
subsidize.
we'll
the purchase
subsidize
of
it.
a-
We already subsidize the shit out of your industry anyway.
and by subsidizing the commercial development and production of this, we're going to have more jobs, good paying factory jobs. And what will the pest? See now, there's Aunt
Now,
Chris.
big
like,
pesticides, like whoa, we're
and she's
DuPont. We can't.
She's
let that
got a
happen.
lot of stock in big pesticides, so she's worried about her pension and 401. I'm just kidding.
But it's a great
yeah,
point. There's a
it
lobby
is.
that's going to fucking do everything they can to make sure that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Like, hey, John, let me show you something. They've did it. Those sons of bitches finally did it. All right, we got to go to Congress. We got to lobby for more chemicals.
Right.
That laser shit's unbelievable and unacceptable.
Yeah. But Joe, it's yes, it's going to cost, but at what benefit, right? Like it's better than spraying chemicals on our food. I don't know. Even if it costs a little bit more, the benefits seem to outweigh the cost.
We have the money.
Right.
We have the money. It's just a simple choice of where
Right.
we
We
spend our
spend
money.
billions on fucking airplanes for the military. We could probably shave off some of that money and
Just
give the
one year.
farmers.
Just 1 year.
It's one time we have to buy this stuff
One-
for these guys, right?
It's our food supply. Again, I gotta feed people. You can't run from the problem, right? You can't. Lucky are we that can run to Montana and live off the land. It's not for everybody, and certainly we can't leave the ones that are less fortunate, or even that the system has like systemically kept down. We can't leave them either. That's just not acceptable either. So, go science. Speaking of science, it doesn't always go smooth.
Right. Update. This has been a lot of
Update.
updates.
Yeah, so it's like an update show,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right?
Catching up on old stories.
Sure. And
Remember when we couldn't open the thing? Yeah.
right, folks, with this show has been going on long enough that we were live to the planet when this particular probe hit the asteroid. And if you don't remember, it was a wild thing that we sent a satellite up into space that had a probe attached to it. And the goal was to shoot the probe into an asteroid, have that container of asteroid stuff come back to the probe, and then the probe is going to shoot it back in a hermetically sealed container to Earth, where it successfully landed in an Arizona desert. And on a well-publicized day, where they were going to open the container and show the world what was inside, they couldn't open and get loose two nuts. It's always a pair of nuts, isn't it? Yar.
Always. Yep.
Yar. Two stubborn fasteners trapped invaluable material trapped from an asteroid, but after a months-long process, it's finally been resolved, NASA announced Thursday. The space agency already harvested about 2.5 ounces of rocks and dust from OSIRIS-REx mission, which traveled nearly 4 billion miles to collect the unprecedented sample from near Earth. NASA revealed in October that some of the material remained out of reach in a capsule hidden inside an instrument called the Touch and Go Sample Acquisition Mechanism, a robotic arm with a storage container at one end that collected samples from the asteroid. Sampler head is held shut by 35 fasteners, according to NASA, but 2 of them proved too difficult to open. Prying the mechanism loose is no simple task. The space agency must use pre-approved materials and tools around the capsule to minimize the risk of damaging or contaminating the samples. Very, very important.
Right. Yeah, kind of important. If we're going to send something 4 billion miles, we don't want to contaminate what it comes back with. Yes.
If you're going to spend billions and billions of dollars to get 2.5 ounces, you want to make sure it's the pure stuff.
Right. You want to make sure you keep it good. Yeah.
You want to make sure that it's the absolute like grade A primo, right? You know what I'm saying? We covered a story in Peru and Colombia today. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's actually really cool because this has never been done before. Another yay science moment here, right? Because we shot a rocket into space and it had a thing in it. And we sent this thing we call a satellite towards a rock in the middle of nowhere space that shot another thing out of it to an asteroid that then shot itself back to the satellite, which then shot it back to Earth. All the math, all the planning, all of everything. And think about it. It all came down to 2 nuts, 2 bolts.
Yeah. And then NASA created 2 new tools to solve the problem of not being able to get in to the thing that they spent billions of dollars to do all of what you just described. So, I mean, yes, it's science all over the place on this one, proving that smart people that are focused on a
Let them
task
cook.
can go and do some really incredible things that we don't have to question. We don't have to question what they're doing because we just trust that they are professionals and experts that they've spent their entire lives working on this. And look, they accomplished it.
By hook or by crook, or new tools. And look, Ben and I are a big fan of new tool.
Oh yes, it's about we're about due, right, for a new album soon.
But we're not 5 years out yet.
God, I hope.
At least 5 years. It was 13 last time, but nobody's bitter, especially when not celebrating the Penguin Parade of 2024.
Oh, Ma Jordan is going to be so happy with this.
Look
She's
at
a
this.
big penguin person.
Thanks to the Cincinnati Zoo, every year they have a penguin parade. It's pretty cool because like the public's allowed, and obviously like off to the side, but they're allowed to be that close. People taking pictures. There's families. There's of course penguin handlers, penguinettes, accompanying the penguins. But look at these majestic birds. That's a bird.
Right.
It doesn't fly. It swims like a motherfucker.
Yeah, very well. Yeah.
It flies in the water.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's a water bird.
Water bird. Look at the eyes.
They are goofy looking, man.
Oh yeah, how can you not be like look at that and be like, man, nature, like what the fuck?
What was nature doing? Why did they decide to stick those things in the cold?
It was one of the funnier Bill Hicks, well, questionable at this point, but one of the funnier Bill Hicks jokes was that like God smoked the joint on the third day.
Yeah.
It's like that would be a penguin or a platypus.
Yeah.
Like, explain a platypus for me, please. No, it's a mammal that lays an egg like a reptile. No,
It's got a bill.
a fundamental problem right then and there. All right, that defies most things we know about the animal species. Anyway, I know what you came here for. And folks, this is when the world's most dangerous chat zone lights up, and there they are. The bolts are already showing up in the Thunderdome, folks. It's the lightning round, which I found out. I already knew it was my dad's favorite segment. I didn't know it was Ma Jordan's favorite segment. So
Yeah, the VIPs love it.
The VIP approved segment of the show, folks. The lightning round. If you're new to the program, just coming back to us, and you got the COVID brain fog, let me explain what the lightning round exactly is. It is when 3 stories, headlines, enter the Thunderdome, the world's most dangerous chat zone. And you, the people, choose which story gets read in a true exercise of democracy. Folks.
Not a fallacy of democracy. What was that? What was that called? Parody of democracy.
Parody of democracy.
Not like Russia.
Forget. Stay away from the windows, Ben. We've been dillying and we've been dallying all night long. Woo! Woo! Right? So without the Australian guys in,
he always pokes his head in just to let us know he's here. I love it.
Thank you, sir. I assume you're sir. You said guy. I assume that's one of your pronouns. So that's where I went with that. Pardon me. Without dilly or dally. Ladies and gentlemen, headline number 1. These Florida monkeys could give you herpes. All this time we were like, Florida man.
Didn't you, man?
We didn't pay attention to the Florida monkey.
No. Flying right into the radar.
Headline number 2. Escort who cut off eunuch maker's penis said it was one for the bucket list. Let me repeat that because I kind of cut it up. Get it?
Yeah.
Headline number 2. Thank you. Escort who cut off eunuch maker's penis said it was one for the bucket list.
Wow. There's depth there. Like she was into that, and like that's a fucked up bucket list.
Eunuch Maker is my favorite Iron Maiden
Eunuch Maker.
Headline number 3. Brampton man, 25, charged with cracking open a beer while driving to celebrate new driver's license. So, folks, this is where I find an actual note card. This is an official 3x5 old school college ruled note card.
Is
And
eunuch? Yeah. What is a eunuch maker? That's
is it a paying like right? Shouldn't
Hold
we
on, I gotta look that
eunuch
up now.
maker? Well, first of all, eunuch is you don't have genitalia, so
Right.
uh, uh, eunuch maker, is that a like an appliance? Like we might need to do further research in that. However, while Ben is looking that up, Lorena Bobbitt was the eunuch maker. Yeah. And funny how it's it here it is.
Okay. The man himself was known as the eunuch maker, but it's not an act. If I'm what I'm gathering here.
Well, we can't get it a magic weapon in D&D. Absolutely. Oh, core blimey, mate, Scott the eunuch maker, step aside. I guess let's not divert from this, and
Yeah.
we may go and dive in. Hey, but let's not discuss it. Let's vote about it. Then you can discuss it. Right. One more time to kind of get us refocused and recentered. Headline number 1. These Florida monkeys could give you herpes. It's a hell of a day if a headline like that doesn't win. You know what
I
I'm saying?
know, right?
That is tailor-made for this episode. Headline number 2. Escort who cut off eunuch maker's penis said it was one for the bucket list. And headline number 3. Brampton man. Do not be confused with Frampton man. Brampton man, 25, charged with cracking open a beer while driving to celebrate his new driver's license. And the votes are starting to pour in.
I think people are interested in what the fuck a eunuch maker is. And of course, our audience is always interested in penis or, shit jokes or anything related to that. Our crowd usually seems to gravitate towards that. And look, it's do you feel it? I was like, whatever.
Peter, this is
So okay, 2's gotten some votes coming out of the gates here.
we're in a tie right now. We're at 2-2.
Oh, look at this.
There's a vote for number 3.
And Chris coming in.
You want to hear about the Brampton
from
man?
left field.
Brampton man.
Oh man.
Yes, for number 2.
All right, looks like number 2 is going to win.
Chiming in, folks. I know there's more of you out there right now.
There has to be.
know it. I know it. I've seen you comment. I know you've been waiting the entire show for this segment where you can exercise your voice on democracy.
Has Billy Whack officially voted?
I believe he said he went for number 2.
Oh, he did. Okay. Yeah, number 2. Okay, there it is. I did see that. Okay.
Boy, Dad effing Brooks going for number 3. This is going to be at like the 2024 election. There's just going to be so many votes spread across the entire spectrum
that they're all going to lose. Yes.
We're all going to win. I don't know how that cuts.
All right. I think unless where are we at right now? I think 2 has got to lead
by the most narrow of margins. It does.
I'm gonna find out what the fuck a eunuch maker is. Send me the link.
Wait, actually, you know what?
I'm Trump. I win.
I'm true. Okay, I think we actually do have a winner. I'm going back and recounting and I'm finding 11,000 votes. Okay, Ben.
Find me the votes.
Give me a break, man.
Just find me the votes.
It's a lot of legwork.
There.
There is the story, folks. I'm happy to crown headline number 2 as your winner on this fine January 17th, 2024 year of our Lord. Warning, graphic content. The ringleader of an extreme body modification group had his penis cut off by a male escort, who then remarked, "Well, that's one for the bucket list." A UK court has heard. Damien Burns, 36, of Tottenham, North London, has pled guilty to grievous bodily harm for removing Marius Gustafsson's penis with a vegetable knife on February 18th, 2017. We're coming up on the 7-year anniversary. The detached penis. What else is on this fella's list, right?
Exactly.
There's a good question, Billy Wack. Burns appeared at the Old Bailey alongside Jacob Criminy Appleby, 23. Let's just park on that name for a second.
Yeah, Crimmy Appleby.
Crimmy Appleby. Jacob Crimmy Appleby.
Well, let's
23.
focus on what he admitted to doing.
He admitted to freezing Gustafson's leg, leading it to be amputated in February of 2019. First of all, Marius Gustafsson, what are you doing hanging out with these people?
Why do you want to keep removing body parts? What is wrong with you?
They cut your dick off with a vegetable knife in 2017, and in 2019, for some reason, you let somebody freeze your leg to convince them to just cut it off then.
Hold on, it doesn't stop there.
It does not. Former nurse Nathaniel Arnold, 48, also admitted the partial removal of Gustafsson's nipple in 2019, stealing anesthetic from his place of work, the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, between 2016 and 2022, and as a throwaway line, possessing extreme pornography.
Right.
The court heard Gustafsson's, 46, that had been involved in numerous extreme procedures, including the filming of removal of male genitalia and posting the footage to a pay-per-view eunuch maker website. It's like an OnlyFans, except like there's
What
nothing.
is this? Hold on.
The practice.
Burying the headline.
The practice is linked to a subculture where men become nullos, short for genital nullification, by having their penis and testicles removed. After cutting off Gustafsson's penis, Burns asked for a copy of the film and was heard saying, "Well, that's one for the bucket list. I never expected that one." How do you walk into a situation like that? Like, well, this is it. This is what we're doing. All right, you got a vegetable knife? All right.
Let's start a backyard wrestling company. So glad we didn't go on the path of cutting each other's dicks off.
Right. Exactly. LWF
He's real happy about it.
Burns had initially been hired by Gustafsson for escort services, and in December 2016, he agreed to remove Gustafsson's penis for a fee of 500 euros, saying he was in debt.
That's not even a lot of money. That's not even a lot of euros, honestly.
Not for your dick.
Not to cut off someone else's.
I think it was Gustafsson saying...
he was hired by Gustafsson. Burns was hired by Gustafsson for 500 euros to cut off his dick. I would have asked for more than 500.
Like, at least pay me like a boil.
How much? Let's talk about it. What is your number? It's not me, but someone comes to you and says, "I want you to cut my
Tipped
penis
in Moscow.
off." Yeah, Tipped in Moscow comes to you and says, "I want you to cut my penis off." What is it going to take?
Are we talking like you're a boil you have in your bar mitzvah?
No. Like,
Or
I
you
want
just
to put it
want
on
me to cut it off?
pay-per-view. Like, I want to put it on pay-per-view on the internet.
Well, that's different too, because like, can I wear like a pig mask?
Sure.
Can we make it weird?
Does
Like
it
the movie
matter?
Brazil?
At that point, does it matter if your face is seen? Like,
I don't. Well, okay, yes, it does actually. I don't want my face traded in those circles.
So would $500 get it done? Would you do it? Okay, you can wear a pig mask.
Right? You want to cut out the gate. Like $500 to appear on a pay-per-view seems kind of light.
To cut someone's penis off.
Yeah, to then possibly face criminal charges, even
Right.
if it was consensual.
Yeah. I think I would charge more than $500 for that. Yeah. I think we're talking at least 5 figures. It's got to be 10 grand or more before.
Like, it has to be significant
considered.
money, right? Significant money.
Yeah.
And
If I'm cutting dicks off, I'm wearing a gimp suit.
There's more.
Oh, is there?
So we know that Burns had been hired by Gustafsson to, basically as an escort, and then in 2016 cut off his dick for 500 euros. Okay, fine. Texting Gustafsson, he said, "I have no issue with it, but you'll lose. You won't.
Won't you lose a lot of blood?
But won't you lose a lot of blood? Like nearly die?" He also expressed concern that he might get in trouble, but Gustafsson explained that he would be given a local anesthetic and receive instructions about what to do. You're not ready for that. On February 18, the procedure took place and was recorded from 2 angles.
They had multiple cameramen.
They thought ahead about this, but not about that. Afterwards, Gustafsson called 999, which I assume is their 911, and told the
quote of the fucking century right there.
This is his quote. "I tried to do some surgery on my cock." This was entered into the court record. He was treated at the hospital.
I want that quote on a t-shirt.
Right? "I tried to do some surgery on my cock." But like with a chicken's head on,
right,
like a rooster's head.
Yes.
Swing, wink, nudge, nudge.
I think that's coming to the fucking Topic Thunder merchandise store anytime now.
It's the Topic Thunder rapapa. "I tried to do some surgery on my cock."
Oh my god! Yeah, with a referral to a psychiatric unit for assessment. Thank you to the fucking medical professionals.
That seems to be free will right there.
Yeah.
But apparently, the gentleman is bipolar and had some hypermania going on. And this was a quote from Neil Griffin, who was somebody. Griffin said, I'm sure his mom loves him. "He is most unlikely ever again to engage in fantasies and behavior that he was prone to 4 years ago."
Well, yeah. He has no dick now.
Yeah, I'm about to say, like, he can't do it again.
Right, there's no there. He's gone to the extreme at that point.
I mean, I guess he has another nipple to give away.
Yeah,
weird erotic
short
fantasy.
of killing himself, I think he's done everything possible.
Uh-oh. Well, maybe. But we wish the man well, right?
Sure.
As we wish everybody well. And, I think we ran a little bit long. The show that I thought was going to be a little bit shorter than normal, but every time folks, thanks for joining us on this nice little 1.5 hour cruise on the USS Rapapa. Every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. for the most part, except when the electricals go out or some weird freak of nature happens and Ben and I can't bring to you topic, which is what you've been listening to for the last 90 minutes. Thanks for being in the Thunderdome, the world's most dangerous chat zone. Thanks to the VIPs, and thanks for the contributions to our guy, Tipped in Moscow, and Ryan Hansen always kicks in a story or two every now and then too. So thank you. We're always willing to discuss things that the Internet Saloon is what we call ourselves. So,
yeah, anybody has stories, send them our way.
Send them our way. You could even develop, make an anonymous email account and be like,
ooh, that'd be fun.
Ooh.
Create a persona.
Oh, interesting. The mystery deepens. It's Topic